If you're on the moon, in fact, you can see part. Looking back at Earth, you can see part of what's behind the horizon because the light bends. Same thing with us when we look at the moon. Some of the stuff that we see at the very edge of the moon is not at the edge, it is slightly behind it.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just had to bring it up because I've been kind of like pulling my hair out because after I had this gentleman on my show, I've had so many people, mad at me because they said I didn't treat the guy right. I treated him with total respect. I didn't argue with the guy because, I feel anybody should have their own view. It's just after I started getting all these emails, I started realizing, hey, come on. I guess maybe if I'm not going to say that word, but if you don't know science, if you don't know the fundamentals of science, I guess you could believe it more.
Yeah. And I got one right here in this house that thinks the Earth is flat. We don't get on that subject much, but yeah, that's how it is.
Yeah. Well, maybe when I was in school, I remember the teacher in grade school, one of the teachers saying, well, if you dug a hole big enough in your backyard, you'll come out in China. Well, maybe I guess a lot of people think, oh, gee, maybe we are flat.
But then again, we also have, there is somebody from the CIA that came forward and he was laughing about it and said, yeah, he said, that's a psyops. And we are just sitting back laughing about you guys.
Yeah. Well, why do you think we honestly haven't, here it is, Mr. Musk wants to go by 2050, put 1 million people on Mars. NASA is saying now they have no plans right now in the near future of going back to the moon after they said they would. Why in the blankety blank would we even think about going on to Mars when we haven't gone back to the moon and see how people could manage to survive for a month, 6 months, or a year on the moon? I would think they would do that before they would make the jump to go to Mars, wouldn't you?
It would make perfect sense to do that, but we have been told not to come back to the moon. One of the astronauts came forward, I'm not sure which one it was, and he said we were warned off not to come back.
Well, I believe that because one of the astronauts said when they got out of their, the space, whatever it is, he stepped out, and the first thing he noticed on the other side of the crater was huge spacecraft.
Yeah.
And why would he say that if it wasn't there? It tells you right there that they were planning, they were waiting for us to land.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's, now the flat Earth is, it's a lead balloon, and it will eventually come back to common knowledge again, but I tell you, there are millions of people believing it.
Well, too, James mentioned it too, and I researched it too. The group recently spent $20,000 to prove that the world is flat with some technology, right? And
yeah,
they
failed.
Yeah, it failed, and they had egg on their face. Now they're going to have to figure something out to try to prove the Earth is flat.
Yeah, they tried to explain it away, but using, of course, flawed science. They had to do something. So they tried to explain it away, but they actually proved that there was a curvature.
Yeah, that was the funny part. I laughed, but some of these people actually flat out lie. DeGraff, it came out and said the Earth is not flat. And me and James were talking about that earlier tonight. And he's sitting there saying, well, DeGraff says that the Earth is flat. That's a flat lie. And that's the other problem. A lot of these people are just spreading false rumors to get people to believe it.
Yeah. Flat Earth has become a religion. And you can't discuss religion anybody to convince them of anything. That is futile.
Well, I'll tell you this. My show has a large listenership. We're on radio stations, right? We're on the internet. Now, I keep track of, because I have my own servers. Now, they feed out to other servers and all that stuff. But I can see, I don't know who's listening on the radio stations other when they get their, quarterly, findings in a book. It tells what show is doing good. I can go in and look on my server and see how many people are listening, what country, what city, and all this stuff. We started out that night with a lot of listeners. 10 minutes after we were talking about the flat earth, nobody was there. It was like, hey, it's gone, nobody's there. So I kind of got, I figured, okay, well, the weekend's coming up. So I spent some money to promote that one episode. I spent a lot of money, and I got a lot of people that listened. But I had to spend a lot of money, which I normally don't have to do, to get those people to listen to that one show. But it really shocked me. I mean, if you get a guest on that people out there, the 99.9% of the people disagree on, they're not going to listen. They're going to tune off. Now, I can tell you this. I got one good listener, Barb. I think she hung through it. But about a couple 100,000 people just went, bye-bye.
I don't blame them, because I've heard most of the arguments, and some of them sound real good if you don't understand how science works. But you see, they deny science. Science doesn't mean anything to them because it's all flawed science. It all lies. So they can claim anything and get away with it.
Well, you know what? I had the guy kind of backed in the corner, and it turned out, now, James, tell me if I'm wrong, but after I got the guy in a little bit of a corner, it started being, well, we're nothing but maybe a hologram, or we're a program in the metrics. Didn't it kind of go that way?
It did go that way. And then also I found that no matter what evidence we came with science, like Aage saying, he would say, well, that's what they want us, that's what they're giving us, what they want us to see. So it was like Aage saying, the science they say we're using is flawed. So with that in mind, no matter what they say is right, no matter what we say is wrong. I mean, hello.
Yeah, and of course I still got to come back to the guy from the CIA that told us that it was a psyop.
Huh.
They just to mislead and redirect people's attention away from what is really going on.
What do you think? Now, Aage, you can sit there and maybe say I'm one of these people on the fence, or one of the strange people on the fence, maybe. I think something is going on. Because all this stuff, all of a sudden the videos surface from the Nimitz. We had the Secretary of the Air Force announce, the next major war, a world war, will not be on ground. It'll be in space. Then we have our president says, jokingly, I'm going to create a space force. And then we create a space force. And then we have this diversion about the wall. And then we have this diversion in Washington, D.C., which now there's going to be another diversion coming from Washington, D.C. It's like they're trying to keep our minds off of things. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. They're good at it because they got such long, very long history of being successful at brainwashing people. And we swallow all of it. Most of us.
Well, I think something is going on. I don't know what, but disclosure. I've had, people on my show. I used to have a network. I used to host a couple other people on the show with their talk shows, and they wrote books, matter of fact. Oh, disclosure is going to come right around, in the next month or two. Well, I haven't really seen much disclosure other than the Navy coming out and saying, hey, these are unidentified flying objects. We don't know what they are. But they don't go any farther by saying, well, there may be aliens from another solar system.
Yeah. What else could they say? If they knew what it was, they couldn't tell us that. But you see, the thing is, disclosure has already happened. It's just that nobody talks about it. And there was somebody from NASA, and the guy's name was Blumrich. He was a leading engineer at Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, Alabama. He studied all the pictures from the moon, activities on the moon that NASA had, and whatever he could get his hands on from the Russian space agency. And that was including pictures of UFOs, flying across the surface. I have NASA prints of a 2-mile-long cigar-shaped ship flying across the surface of the moon, throwing a shadow on the ground. It is clear as a bell. It's there. And the thing is, he made a statement. And this Mr. Blumrich, he said, and I quote, I wrote that down because I wanted to make sure I got it right for you. The moon and Earth are and have been visited on a regular basis by extraterrestrial beings. And this is something that was classified, this document. And it's unclassified now. You can actually go to NASA and get it. And it's called Chronological Events of Lunar, lunar anomalies or something like that. I'll think of it in a second.
Okay, now I want you to think about it. We need to go for break. And during the break, I'm going to disconnect from you and call you back when we come back because we got a bad line. And that's the problem with Skype. I know you do a show. I don't know if you have problems with Skype, but, I can do 10 shows in a row, beautiful. And then all of a sudden, I get a line that's no good. We got one here tonight. So anyway, we're going to be back talking about the moon, UFOs, aliens, and all that with a great guest, well, in about 2.5 minutes. By the way, check out the website, nightdreamstalkradio.com. We'll be right back.
One day while reading history, I paused to take a sigh about the land Afghanistan where empires go to die. Alexander the Great, he tried and failed. The Mongols, they did too. The British and the Russians, they got their ass kicked too. America's been there many years, and I ask myself why we don't learn from history where empires go to die. They say it's terrorism, that's political malarkey. Just follow where the money goes to a corporate oligarchy. The food crops they once grew with their plow and a hoe been turned into opium poppies, growing row on row. Our infrastructure's crumbling, our social structure too. It's a corporate scam, they don't give a damn while screwing over me and you.
If you would like to hear Night Dreams Talk Radio on your local radio station, let them know. Tell them to check out www.nightdreamstalkradio.com. And thank you.
Night Dreams Talk Radio, After Dark, wants to give a big shout out to all the truckers that listen to our show.
If you would like to hear Night Dreams Talk Radio on your local radio station, let them know. Tell them to check out www.nightdreamstalkradio.com. And thank you.
Coming to you from some far point station, like a cosmic tumbleweed, both north and south of the Pleiades. Here's your host, Gary Anderson.
And we are back. We're going to get our guest back on here, and I think we have him on now. Well, now I'm hearing double feedback.
You do?
Okay, it cleared itself. But you know what? That's a lot better line. What do you think, James?
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds a lot better. Yep.
Okay, that sounds good.